For 2 years, we watch Western States 100 from behind the screen on YouTube, obsessed with the elites, the pro trail ultra runners, grinding through 100 miles of canyons and collapsing into hugs at the finishing. This is the oldest world's trail race, 100 miles from Olympic Valley, Tahoe to Auburn, California. But this time, we did it differently. We packed up and we drove from Idaho to California to chase a dream that had been calling us for years. This is our behind the scenes, my friends, a breakdown of spectating Western States 100 for the first time in person and what it taught us. Let's dive in. Welcome to Embers Rising. I'm Wendy J. Alongside me is my incredible husband, business partner, and adventure in life,
David Tucker. Of course, everybody goes wild in the audience.
And this week, we're recapping a journey that tested us, inspired us, and reminded us why we chase wild goals. We didn't run Western States, but we lived the spirit of it. Let us take you through the experience day by day, what it was like, what we would change, what we loved, what was crazy and insane. But before we dive in, let's tell you where the heck we've been.
Yeah, so we skipped a week, obviously, because we were over at Western States.
Yeah.
And where have we been? Like, it's so interesting today. I realized that I needed to unpack from the trip to Colorado, which was our speaking event 2 weeks ago, right? And so that's how crazy things have been. There is luggage from several trips ago still just sort of hanging out.
Yeah, it feels really weird to look at the clothes in the closet that were hanging there from our speaking event, literally, and knowing that 2 weeks ago we were on stage, to now turning around and saying, oh yeah, on the calendar it looked great. In reality, packing for this next trip, heading down to Western States 100 was a whole nother ball game. Packing the whole car, getting all the equipment ready. And we had a lot of weather to contend with. We were dealing with cold mornings that were in Tahoe all the way down to 100-degree heat. So we were between 37 and 100 degrees. Yeah. It was a lot of different packing this time.
So a lot of different packing. The thing I really liked was the sort of that dichotomy, that difference between going to Colorado all dressed up, makeup, speaking. And then the next week I got to wear my running clothes almost all day long, every day. Now I know the benefit of being a professional runner. Yeah. You actually get to wear your running stuff like 24/7. It's pretty comfortable. Yeah. It is a lot more comfortable.
Well, we're doing good. We are back in studio and we're super happy to be fired up here with you. We thought that we would just make this episode about our journey. We've never spectated the Western States 100 in person, what it was like, what we would change. Training for us is going good. For myself, I'm doing good. Still working through a little bit of some quad tendinopathy, which is in above my knee, lower quads, working through that with my PT, with my coach, but getting the training in. And in fact, the entire time we were down there, we were getting all the training in. Dave, you're like 25 days away from your Ironman right now. And when this comes out, it'll be even less time. How are things going?
Yeah, 25 days to go. I am at peace with the fact that it's going to be nowhere as near as difficult as what I saw at Western States. And I have been preparing for it. So
that's awesome.
It'll be what it is. I've decided since it's my first one, I'm going to soak it in and enjoy it as opposed to be, super competitive and nervous. It's just a little splashing around in water. You get a bike ride in the countryside, and then, you get a little run along river. And the fact that it'll be 103 degrees out is, not that big a deal.
I just imagine myself just eating and drinking the whole time, I have to get out of that swim,
Right. Yeah, pretty hard to eat during the swim.
Yeah.
So it is what it's going to be, and I'm excited about it.
Yeah,
so,
I know the training continues. So that's
you'll be there cheering me on. Right?
Yes, you all will see this. We will definitely have an episode on that Ironman recap. So that's going to be great.
All right.
So that's where we're headed. Quick shout out, quick acknowledgement to our listeners, everyone tuning in, especially the dreamers, the doers, and the ones who haven't quite made the leap yet. This is your episode. This is your permission slip. You don't have to run 100 miles, my friend, to be part of something extraordinary. We didn't either, but let's get into it, because when you inspire and cheer for others, it only uplifts your heart even that much higher. So let's dive in, Dave, to day number 1.
And the thing about it is you never come away from an event like that when you're there in person, not saying to yourself, oh yeah, I got to do this, which is a dangerous thing, but it's also a dangerous thing to not have that dream, right?
Well, I was just going to say, when you're somewhere in person, it changes you 1,000 times more than watching it on YouTube. And seeing the races the last couple of years on YouTube and cheering for the followers that we had been following and watching their journey and then watching their stories come through on those races, and then actually being there in person, meeting a whole nother group of people and cheering for them and being introduced to new runners. It was just, it changes you. I think it definitely, there is a heart of Western States. And I think the word just means there's a deeper meaning now when you say the word Western States 100 than just saying the word, you know?
That's for sure. The other weird thing, and I know you want to jump into this, but is you see people that you have seen online for a long time.
Yeah.
And, maybe you've watched a number of their YouTube videos and you've gotten to the point where you feel like you actually know them.
Yeah.
So when you see them in person, you're like, hey, Jeff, how you doing, man? How's the new house? Sorry, your cat died. And he's like, what? Who are you? Because you know everything about them, right? And then they don't even know who you are.
That is definitely a reality check we had. That's interesting. We will share that. But let's dive into day number 1. Things that we did that was awesome. Day number 1, we arrived from my dad's place. We had drove down from his place. He lives in Foresthill, California. We had stayed with him for a few days, and then we drove back up to Olympic Valley, Tahoe. We actually stayed in the Village. That was a great choice. We loved that. We stayed at the place. I think it was called the Village of Palisades.
Yeah, it's the Olympic Village.
The Inn? Olympic Village.
I don't know. It was room number 105.
Yeah.
Hey, that's all I needed to know.
I was just going to say, like, if you are booking a trip there, to stay actually there at the Village is a fantastic takeaway, because check that off your list. We had underground parking, which got our car out of the sun and the heat. So that was perfect. And we could walk anywhere in the Village and then come back to our room. And it was just like so easy breezy. We didn't have to drive somewhere. So that was just like, it was, and our room actually had like a little kitchenette. So it was just perfect to pack all of the food and, the waters and our electrolytes, everything there was with us.
And, I love the way the universe always has our back. Has your back too. So we'd been at Dad's house, and it was the 3rd day, and you know how relatives go on the 3rd day. They're like, we're having fun, but there's a little bit of edginess. We get off our run, and we're thinking we only got another day or 2 before we go. And Wendy gets a message, says your check-in time is going to be tomorrow. And we're like, no, it's the day after tomorrow. But it turns out it wasn't. And so we went from this sort of like low to like, let's go home and pack our shit because we're going first thing in the morning.
Yeah, so we did. So we arrived at we were right in the middle of TrailCon. It was a huge expo. It was their inaugural event. We did not know a whole lot about it. And so now I wish I was there the day earlier, actually. So this was their 2nd day, and we didn't catch everything that we wanted to. We kind of arrived in the middle of, they were kind of like wrapping up, unfortunately. But TrailCon is a really cool event. I wish I knew more about it, but it is a place that really brings in and inspires community of runners and people together, to including women that were like women on trail. There were like amazing like big breakfast that you could attend for free. There were a ton of swag. This was like swag collection day, I call it.
Yeah, there was like 100 booths. We didn't really know. I mean, we'd read
amazing.
that there was a TrailCon thing going on before Western States. But since it was the first one, there's really no information on it. And we get there and the place is just lit up.
Oh my gosh.
Right.
Like tons of energy.
And the first door we walked through was the lady that does all of the announcing for Western States.
Oh my gosh.
Is it Corinne? You called her?
So it was Corinne. She's the commentator that does mostly all of the I Run Far trail, destination trails. I Run Far. I mean, she's always there on YouTube doing the live. She's been doing it for years with David Bowman. Is it David Bowman? I think his name is. Gosh, I hope I got that right. And yeah, I embarrassedly called her Candace because I know Candace has been one of the directors out there, and I embarrassedly called her a different name. That was so embarrassing. And then she corrected myself. I'm Corinne. I'm like, oh my gosh, of course you are. I'm like
and then she held up a shirt and said, do you want to buy a shirt?
Yeah,
and Wendy's like,
I've seen her.
I guess I have to.
I've seen her on YouTube. And so embarrassingly, when you meet someone, of course, you're just in your head like, oh my gosh, it's so embarrassing. And then she's like, so do you guys know where you're at? We're like, no, not really. They were kind of like wrapping up this breakfast, and we had just arrived and trying to find some people to connect with. And we're like, well, we're selling these shirts. I'm like, okay, great. Let's get one. Here's some stickers. Okay. Our first like swag collection was happening. Yeah, that was really cool. But that day was neat. I mean, we had seen a lot of vendors that are in the trail running community that we are as part of the big brands that you all know of. If you're an athlete, all of the electrolyte companies, kind of thing were there, or had packed up or had sold out all of their swag and they were leaving. Come to the top of my mind, things like Hoka had their huge fly lab that was coming open. They were building for the next day. That was a big deal. OnCloud had their whole like exposition going on for shoes.
And Precision
had
was the main sponsor.
Sponsor on the
their
stage.
Stuff was everywhere.
Yeah, they were incredible.
I got a cool hat. I should have worn it.
Yes.
I thought it would look funny on camera. Sort of a weird running hat.
Yeah. So that was really cool. But it was great. These are the companies that, we've purchased from, that we have a relationship with online. And then we met a lot of people face to face. I remember meeting the owner of the company. I don't remember his name, but the owner of the company at Naked Running Belt. That was awesome. I want to say his name was like Leslie.
I don't remember.
I can't remember it.
But his gear was cool.
It was like top of line. He's a fashion designer. Worked with Ralph Lauren and now is doing sports gear. That was fabulous. So it was just really amazing to connect with people and kind of move around all those booths. I love TrailCon, so definitely be back on that.
Yeah, I'm going to go early next time.
And if you are looking to go to Western States, definitely book yourself a couple of days before Western States Village begins, because that TrailCon is going to happen again next year. So that is just an incredible way to get yourself inserted in the community and just start kind of networking, or just be there to spectate and hang out, and learn. And
you want to be there probably for 5 days just to do 5 days worth of runs, because the runs were incredible. So
we're going to get into that.
I won't let the cat out of the bag.
Yes.
The dirt out of the bag.
Anyway, it was, I think TrailCon day, that first day, it was us trying to figure out where we belong and how we belong. I know that we're trail runners, but that day felt a little bit more open than the next day when the athletes started pouring in, and then all of a sudden your vibes kind of started changing. So day number 2, so we get sleep, and day number 2, we wake up early and decide, where the heck are we, Dave? Let's go run up the mountain. So we throw on our pack, we stretch, we do the thing, and it's somewhat like twilight in the morning, and we're like heading up the mountain.
Just getting light. And it says Western States Trail. They're already starting to build the starting line. Yeah. So you go under the starting line and you head up the flags, up the trail, up to the top of Palisades.
Yeah, so we were at the base was like 6,200 feet. We did not know that we were climbing up to like 8,700 plus feet up the top.
And there was that little extra tip that went up to a little over 9,000.
Yes, so. yes. Yeah, we were very close to that. The altitude, though, was like a little bit shocking. It was like, whoa, going, we were trying to run, power hike up that thing. There were also media that was kind of scoping out where they were going to grab their shots of the runners that they were tracking or documentary. And so we did meet some people up there. That was really cool. I think I met David Roche's documentary filmmaker, Cody something.
Yeah, a lot of filmmakers up there. So that was just trying to figure it out and get their run in too.
But the trail was epic. It winded up a road, and we ended up at a kind of a place called High Camp, which is where the tram comes out. The top of the High Camp was where the tram came out at. But we passed that, and we continued on up to the very top. We wanted to actually crest the top where the snow was and look over to the valley on the other side. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you're going to see the footage from this hike, because it was absolutely incredible from where we were. David, when you first saw the snow, you were like, okay, I'm going over there making snow angels. That was really fun. You thought, this is all the snow I'm going to see.
I don't know if I'm going to see any more snow, so I got to get a little video footage because it looks cool, right? And then, of course, we climbed the next, 700 or 900 feet, and there was plenty of snow for everybody.
Yes.
So
there was a lot of snow, and it was so amazing to step to that side, knowing we were on the escarpment side of the trail, and that we were now where the runners were going to run into now single track for the rest of the 100 miles. Well, 90
and the view, you could see the view almost to Auburn. It seemed like it was crazy.
Yes,
you
all
get
the way
there,
down the canyon.
And it is definitely the high point in the race. and you can just see all of the
For
canyons, everything down, and you can see the trail like just disappear through the trees.
And wouldn't you know, as we're coming down, and I'm kind of on a time limit, I'm looking at my watch going, we better get back. And usually this was the day that my dad was going to come visit us. And wouldn't you know, at the very top of the mountain, I get a phone call. And it's my dad saying, hey, I'm 5 miles away. I'm like, oh, wow. And he's like, where are you guys? I'm like, well, we're kind of on the top of a mountain right now. So we hoofed it. We hoofed it back to the tram and at high camp and caught the tram ride down to meet Dad, but it took a little while.
Yeah, and with the tram, it took us, I don't know, maybe less than 15 minutes to run down, because it was all downhill from there. And then we pretty much caught the first tram down. So all in all, it was like 20 minutes later, right?
Yeah,
like,
we
hi,
were
Dad,
done.
we were just at the top. He's like, that's not possible.
Yeah, that was really cool. So let's see, we got down there, met up with Dad. We kind of walked the village a little bit, and I had to make a decision about what to do next, because this is the first day that Western States opens in the village. So Western States has now put up their booths, and the stage is now changed from TrailCon to Western States. So the sponsorship has changed from Precision now to Hoka, and now they've got their whole itinerary agenda for the day of the speaking events that are happening around in the village, on stage, and at different booths. And I really wanted to attend those speaking events, but I had to make a kind of a hard decision. Here I was with my dad, who's 75, and I said to myself, I should be being present with my dad and taking in these memories. That is, when are we going to do this again? There'll be another Western States. I can attend it. So let's do that. And plus we were looking at the time too, with the day and the light and the sun and the heat. Looking at my watch, I was like, okay, let's jump back on the tram, right up to the top, and start doing a hiking adventure up there.
Yeah, and so we got up to the top of the tram, and then Dad, was hiking up with us. We got about halfway back up to where we were before.
Yeah.
But he got to see it, and it's just nice to be family time. He's still in pretty good shape for 75.
Yeah.
So yeah, he hoofed it up there, but the last part up to the escarpment is straight up, and he's like, no, we're not doing that. Why don't we sit down and have some trail mix?
But again, if you're seeing this on YouTube, you're going to see some great footage, because the views are incredible. And I think, Dave, you got a shot of Dad and I kind of sitting there on the side of the rocks. We were below one of the chairlifts.
With snow behind
us.
Because I always want to make sure I get the snow.
Yeah. Looking out over the valley. And it was just incredible. I think the best view from the top was that you could see all the way to Tahoe Lake. We were now higher than Tahoe Lake, so we could see Tahoe Lake in the distance. But it was absolutely incredible. I just, that is ingrained in my memory now. That was really cool.
Yeah, and he loved it.
He loved it. Yeah, that was just so special.
So we hiked around for a couple hours, and then got back on the tram, went down.
Back down on the tram.
And
and by the way, just so you know, the tram is quite large. It can hold up to 100 people on the tram, which I was like, no, that's not really possible. We were in there with maybe less than 20 people on the way down. And it takes 8.5 minutes to ride up or down.
Yeah, the whole thing. And
so all the way down back to the base. It was amazing.
And it's like an IMAX movie the whole time. So
and there's windows
you
all
wish
the way
it would
around.
go slower or something.
Yeah, it was really, really cool. What a very cool experience. So let's see.
Got down to the bottom, went out to lunch. Fireside Pizza. Place to go.
Pizza. It was great. Arnold Palmer's all around. Great gluten-free pizza, salads, soups. It was fabulous. It was great. Got down with lunch, and then kind of poked around the village a little while, and all the booths that were still coming, that was up and coming. They were still putting together the village and doing the talks around the village.
And Dad decided he wasn't going to spend the night, which totally, in retrospect, worked out really, really well.
Yep.
Because it freed us up to launch into the next day.
Yeah. So now we are on day 3. This was an incredible day. This was a day that we said, hey, let's do another big run. We got up first thing in the morning and we ran up Shirley Canyon Lake Trail. It started at the bottom. It was not on the tram side. It was kind of way over on the other side of the tram. We could kind of see it, but now this footage that you're going to see if you're watching this on YouTube is incredible, because totally different trail side. We're crossing a ton of little river crossings that were rocky. And, each person would tell us, hey, you're going to see like 3 waterfalls. No, it's 7. No, there were so many waterfalls. We couldn't count them all. It was incredible.
How tall does it have to be a waterfall?
Yeah, it was amazing.
But what a transition. So you come out of the village and it's just this smooth, cruisy sort of trail.
In trees.
The trees.
Full pack in trees.
And then the trees get tighter and it starts to get steeper, and then they throw in some big rocks.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden you're scrambling over rocks in the trees, and then you hit this granite face that goes up. No trees obviously there. And so it's one of those scrambles where you're on
all fours.
You're on all fours
yeah.
at points. Nothing dangerous. Yeah, it didn't feel dangerous at all. But
I almost fell backwards though with my pack. I stood up for a moment. I was
like,
whoa, this is
right,
steep.
Because you don't remember. You haven't done it for a while.
Yeah, this is steep.
And so it wasn't that far up to the lake, maybe 4 miles.
We were watching these like blue lines that were painted on the rocks to kind of guide us. Well, the blue lines had faded over the years with all the snow. So it was a little hard to find the blue lines. And then there were several blue lines. You're like, oh, okay, which blue line should I be following? But we did. We power hiked, ran the little sections that we could, finally made it to the little lake, which had a big rock point that kind of came all the way into the lake. That was cool. We walked around the lake to get on that, get some shots. It was great for jumping in, swimming, cooling off. We were unfortunately not able to do that then, but you will see some footage of the lake if you're watching this again on YouTube, because it's just incredible, the view up there at Shirley Canyon Lake.
A lot less running than one might imagine just because of the terrain. So it's more like a fast packing adventure.
Yeah.
But then when you get done with that, there's some more trail up to a very steep road that goes all the way back up to high camp, right? So
yes.
All of a sudden we've gone from the village back up above where the tram lands at the top of the mountain, and we got a good run down from there.
Yes, there was 2 trails that you could take. One that goes up and around Shirley Canyon Lake up to the right, or you can go left and go on Solitude Trail, which keeps the lake to your right. You stay to the left and follow that. And it was kind of windy through there, but more waterfalls like cresting over like huge rock canyon walls that were unbelievably, we're like, oh my gosh, that's there. I mean, it was really quite something. It was magic.
Yeah.
Absolutely magic in there.
I'd go back just for that.
That canyon, I mean, I would definitely do that again. And then we ended up on a dirt road, which is like a service road that goes back up to the high camp. And we hiked that. Dave is having an M&M right now in the middle of this episode. I have no idea what's going on over there.
It's a peanut M&M.
So ran up to that and jumped on the tram to go back down because we still had a lot to do this day. This was Friday. This is the day before the start. There was still a lot going on. And I needed to meet my coach for the first time. So
yeah, tell us about that.
Yeah. So we headed back, showered, got ready, got a message from my coach who was setting up the CTS coaching event booth in the parking lot for their 20 athletes that were participating in the Western States 100. And I did not know who their athletes were. In fact, I didn't even think of all the coaches and all the athletes underneath them. Now I know some of them because obviously cat's out of the bag. They got first and second. So that's just amazing to me. But got to meet my coach for the first time. We met at a coffee shop. Hoka actually took over the Mountain Outpost coffee shop with everything. It was incredible. I wish I would have gotten a picture of that for y'all. It was incredible, the branding that Hoka did, not from the signs to like the decals on the windows of the coffie shop. I mean, it just looked like Hoka's headquarters there. And it was. Yeah, they ran podcasts out of there at the coffee shop. So it was a whole thing. So I met my coach, went over to CTS in the parking lot at the booth, met her, and then we walked over to the coffee shop and we sat and chatted. And that was an incredible experience just to know that, I mean, I see her every 2 weeks on my Zoom calls, but to be with her energy live and in person is just something so special. So grateful for that moment.
I'm glad you had fun. I stayed back at the room and had to put out a proposal for our business.
Oh,
so I'm in there putting in numbers
away
for a proposal for a project. But I finished it by the time you got back, which was good.
Well, then it was time for lunch and we wanted to go back out. I love that place where we had gone the day before. So we went back in there. There was a big wait list for like a half an hour. We got our name on the list and then we kind of shot the cruise trying to find some shade to hang out. Perfect timing because, like you said, things just happen for a reason. We sit down in the shade and wouldn't you know it, as soon as we sit down, David looks up and sees Jeff Peltier and Audrey Lafreniere walking into another coffee shop. I can't even remember the name of that one.
I can't remember it, but it was right before the big mandatory racers
meeting. Yeah, it was like an hour before that.
So we got pictures with them. We got to talk to them.
Yeah, so if you're watching this, you will see us with Jeff Peltier and Audrey Lafreniere. It was like my heroes. Audrey, I did a podcast with her a few episodes back, so check out, I think it was like episode 59. Incredible racer, runner, human being, just all around incredible spirit. And then, of course, Jeff with his filmmaking background and media, and check out his YouTube channel right here, because it's just, you need to follow him and checking out all of his adventures. He will inspire you for sure.
And so the mandatory racers meeting was on the main stage in the center of the village.
Yeah.
And they just told everybody to bring their own chairs, and it was mobbed. It was a madhouse,
Yes.
right? And there was no shade at
Yes.
all. Like, it was just burning up. And we decided to go into the restaurant that was right in front of it. And wouldn't you know, they walk us right up to the table that's right on the very edge with a big umbrella.
Bring us the best seat.
Bring us giant lemonades and
ice waters.
And we ate pizza. I actually had, because I didn't want to get kicked out, because they're like, "Are you done yet?" And I'm like, "No, this thing's like 2 hours long. I'll have dessert." So a lady brought me a giant chocolate chip cookie and with some ice cream on it, and I ate it very, very slowly.
Yeah, that was awesome. Just to know that we were, I think, in the environment and the energy of all of the elites and everyone running Western States was just amazing. Their crews, their families, the pacers, the volunteers. I mean, everyone was there. Everyone was getting ready to break. And after this mandatory meeting, people were heading off to their aid stations. So this was the volunteers were heading to aid stations. Coaches were preparing their elites and their team. So this was an absolutely incredible energy to be around.
It was. The last thing about it, so, there's condos all the way around that part of the village with balconies, and just all the teams on the balconies with their team shirts on. And at the end, Wendy's like, we saw everybody. She told me, "Do you know that you just brushed past Jim Walmsley?" And I'm like,
"Oh my gosh,
why didn't he say hi?" Brother, say hi. I've seen you so much. You must know something about me.
And this is the thing we were talking about at the very beginning of this episode. When you watch someone and you binge their content online, it's so interesting to see them in person, because it's not that they're different. They are who they are, but I don't even know what to say or even how to introduce myself. I was so excited to meet Heather Jackson, Fu Shao, Jim Walmsley, Jeff Peltier. And I'm lost at words, I feel lost with words. So, you just be yourself and you just be human, and you just show up. So we did our best. Yeah.
They're just as uncomfortable,
Yeah,
like,
they're like,
you walk
"I don't
up
know
when you
who
say,
you are."
I like your running. They're like, okay. Or if you don't say anything, what are they going to say? Like, "You like my running?"
I do have to say it put things in perspective, because it felt intimidating to be around all of these incredible athletes with, you're watching them walk around you, and you just felt like, for me, I felt like an outsider, like I didn't belong there, even though that my coach was like, she feels like an outsider too, just trying to keep a good head on my shoulders, knowing this is my first time. I'm trying to figure out the venue, in person, what it's like. And everybody seems to have like their groupies and know each other. Like, hey, we, ran in UTMB, or we did our training camps, or
it's a small community.
It's a very small community.
Like
everybody
most
knows
communities
everybody
in the world, when it comes down to it, the core people that are the leaders all sort of know each other.
Yeah.
And so that was cool. That was just weird. The thing that is really interesting to me is we're all familiar with people being fans for like football players and basketball players and those sorts of professional athletes. But trail running has really broken onto the scene, and over the last 5 years, it's gone from this thing that was sort of a kickback, hippies in the mountains, go for a run, to this massive
movement,
branding effort, a lot of people, and a lot of known people, and just a ton of media.
Yeah, and I just think it, like, for us, we're so lucky because we live in an area that accessing Western States 100 is very convenient, easy for us to get to. But, we're talking to athletes that have flown all over the world. I think there were athletes from 35 different countries. There were 369 racers at the starting line. 369 racers at the starting lines, my friend. And So you just got to tell yourself, I mean, these people earned their way in. The Western States 100 is not a place where you can just, sign up, pay, and you're there. This is a very prestigious race, and you have to get into a lotto to get in. You have to have ran 100 miles. You have to been on a podium of a qualifier just to get in Western States race. So it's a big deal, and it was really cool to be there. And on this particular day, was Friday, and so this was the day before. Things were starting to wind down by the end of the evening. We could see the village kind of wrap. Athletes disappeared. The village had kind of now gone quiet.
Yeah, it had gone into its ready position.
Countdown was on. They had set up the starting line with a countdown timer, and it was on. It was definitely on.
And so, that afternoon, Wendy pulls up a couple videos, and we thought we were going to be at the starting line, and I was really excited about the energy and the gun going off and everybody running off, and I thought that's what I wanted to do. And Wendy said, we can do that, or we can go up to the very top. We're going to have to start hiking, like wake up at 2:30. And so I sort of fought that a little bit, but what did we end up doing?
Well, so Friday night, before we shared the next day, we were trying to make a decision of what we were going to do. Were we going to stand at the starting line and just shoot film there, or were we actually going to make the hike? There was an optional 3:30 a.m. Hike up to the top. And the way that it was described, that it would be like, hey, halfway, there's like pastries and coffee. And I'm thinking like this massive spread is at hike camp on the deck with a view, with lights going on, and there's tea and drinks and chairs. We can watch the sunrise. Like my head is in there's bathrooms there. Like my head's in a whole nother space. I'll tell you about that in a minute, so hold on. But after looking at the two options, and we had met Jeff Peltier, who had asked, were you guys going to be in the morning? And we said we were thinking about the start, but now we're thinking about doing the hike. And he said, definitely do the hike. And so that kind of confirmed it for us. We're like, okay, let's do the hike. So, yeah. But before we go into that, I have to share that evening was the coolest thing, because as the village was winding down and it was so super quiet around, I mean, it was just like starting to peace out. We sat in these chairs across from Hoka Outpost, the coffee shop, and watched Hoka's incredible branding team pull everything out of this coffee shop for a couple of hours. I mean, the equipment that they moved in, we're talking like bookshelves, backgrounds, flooring,
windows,
rugs,
signage,
lights. I mean, it was incredible. I just can't even believe it. They were loading the stuff in a semi. It was incredible.
Yeah, and so they turned it from a coffee shop into their base camp, the outpost. Yeah. And then in less than 2 hours, I mean, the bulk of it was done in an hour.
Yeah.
Like the team just ripped it down and it went back to being a coffee shop the next morning. It was
we woke up and it was like back to its original branding. We're like, what? Okay, so Saturday is the big day. I mean, this is the big event. And we go to bed at 6:30 p.m. It's like lights out, face mask on, shut everything up. We know we have a 2:30 a.m. wake up. And the reason 2:30 a.m. wake up is because you want to get there early. You don't want to be there at 3:30. And you don't want to be there at 3:35 because everyone's already started. So you need to be there at least 10 minutes early. So we want to make sure that we got up, we're like, had our head in a good space, got our, there was requirements to bring up to the top, like a headlamp. They wanted to make sure you had a hydration pack, warm clothes, all that stuff together.
Yeah, it was in the 30s, and just a tip. So, they said it was going to be a group hike that starts at 3:30, and we get there at about 3:21, and I see headlamps already going up.
We're like, let's go,
and I'm like, let's just go. And there's a whole group of people down at the bottom.
Yeah, waiting.
And as we cruised up, I think it hit 3:30 and I could hear the official start. Someone said, all right, you can go now. And I'm like, game on,
Yeah.
I'm glad we're in front of those people. There was nothing to the 3:30 start other than...
Yes, it was very cold. Tip for yourself, if you're thinking about doing that 3:30 a.m. hike, I'll for sure say wear long pants unless you can tough out the cold, because before the sun came up, it got colder and there was snow up there. So I should have worn my women tights up there, and definitely some hand warmers. I had a couple pairs of gloves, but my hands were still numb. I couldn't feel my hands.
You're always cold.
But so we charged up there at 3:30 in the morning. We're hiking up, and the trail does not go to high camp. In my head, I'm imagining it's going to this wonderful high camp space with this massive spread. And all of a sudden, there is like a car that's parked, and they have like two tables spread out with these donuts, with Hoka blue coloring on the donuts. And I think I have a shot of this. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you could check it out. But I remember people just coming through the line. They were getting coffee. I think they had some gluten-free something, which I should have gotten in line. David gets an incredible mug from Hoka. Like the first 50 people up there got these mugs.
Yeah, so a stainless steel,
it was
Hoka
awesome.
branded, like hand painted.
Definitely
mug.
be in the first 50 people. And you got
a cowbell, a Hoka branded cowbell.
The Hoka cowbells for racing, to shake at the top. So we do that. We keep going up, and now we are making our way through the snow, and it's just starting to get trickling more people. Now, I believe at 4 or 4:30 a.m., you can grab the tram as well. You have to do an RSVP, though, to get in because there's only so many seats that you can get. Like I said, they take like 100 people up there. So our 200 amount people or 150 people that walked up to the top, now you've got like 300 people now moving themselves on the tram up to the top. So we were starting to like meet people. We saw Jeff and Audrey again up there. Met a really cool guy, Josh Coleman, up there, who was a Tahoe 200 doing the Triple Crown this year with the other 200 ultra races. You know, we kind of dipped on the other side because I really wanted to see the racers come down on the other side and then make their way on the single track that would like cruise around through the canyons down towards the canyons, the Auburn area.
But before that started, the sun came up.
Right. Oh my gosh.
And we got to watch the sunrise.
Wait, before you
top.
even say that, I have some footage that I really want to show you guys. Again, if you're watching this on YouTube, you're gonna check it out. I turned around and got a shot of all of the dark headlamps in the background because it was so cool to see all those headlamps just like going up the road in the dark. And yes, when we got to the top, Dave, the sunrise was incredible, cresting over the mountain, and it was like this pink glow all the way across, and you could see it out the lake of Tahoe Lake.
Yeah, it just lit up Tahoe.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm glad we
amazing.
Ended up standing just over the top where you could see both sides because the last part of the trail coming up, everybody has to hike it. It's single file. It's all snow and ice on one side and then rock on the other. So it's almost like you're going up this V. It's very hard to run. But then as you crest over the top, you hit the dirt trail again. And it's game on, right? Like you start running and then you go this downhill, very steep, very rocky, big corner. And it was just amazing the speed at which the lead people came over. Right?
Well, yeah,
like
I mean,
it was impressive.
Once we got planted of where we were going to shoot our own film, now we knew the race was started, and we were like counting down, and they had said like the first person was going to come up in like 38 minutes, somewhere in there. And we were like, oh my gosh, you know, we have hiked up in like an hour and 45. The first lead men are going to be here in 38 minutes. We were just like, oh my gosh. So we were waiting on pins and needles, and boy, when they came down, it was like technical, a super loose rock, and then around a very sharp, big, tight corner that they had to scoot around.
And just like you see in Europe, right? That whole last, I don't know, couple hundred yards of the trail is just people on both sides where you can only get one runner through, right? And everybody's just shouting and ringing the cowbells, and people were dressed up, you know, in weird costumes. There were the cow people that only had
mushroom. There was Abominable.
Yeah, the cow people with just the cow shorts on and nothing else, right? Like it was crazy.
Yeah, it was super epic. So then we knew we were on a little bit of a different time frame because once the racers go through, and we had 369 people that had kind of up and over. So they kind of not make you wait. You could start going down, but you don't want to get in the way of the runners. I mean, they're doing their thing.
You have to go down the same way they're coming up.
I think for the very last one, there was ages, what did they say? Age 22 or 24 to age 80 in the pack of the 369 racers. That was the age group.
And the guy that was 80 was not the last person up that steep part of the hill.
Yeah, but we started heading down. We knew we needed to pack up like everybody else, get in our cars, and start making the drive to the halfway point, which would have been 62 miles and Foresthill.
But you got to make it to the tram, right? Which only takes 100 people at a time and comes every 20 minutes. So we got down past the steep part, and then we put on the afterburners and started running.
Yes.
A lot of the people weren't runners. There were a lot of fans and family and crew and people carrying a lot of heavy camera gear and stuff.
Media.
Yeah, not us. We ran.
So we ran, and we still had to wait for like
one tram.
One tram?
It was one tram. Wasn't bad.
Yeah, one tram. I thought it was like two or three trams. Anyway, we waited in a very big, long line. High Camp's amazing. If you haven't been there, check it out in Palisades at the top. It's just awesome. It has the Olympic Museum in there, something we forgot to mention that we did with Dad. It was actually worth seeing. It was very, very cool. They have like you can rent the whole place out. So when they have a whole bar, they have a restaurant, they have a little convenience store up there. The tram ride's absolutely worth it. So anyway, yeah, we get on the tram, we head back down the mountain, head straight into back to our room, shower, change, and then pack the car. And now we are making a beeline for Foresthill. Now we have time because the racers are not going to get there in what were we expecting, like 5 hours, 6 hours, 5 hours?
No, it was more than that. It was going to be somewhere near 7 hours, I think.
So, because I know we were thinking about getting up there around 11:30 and starting to watch people come in like around noon, maybe.
Yeah, it was estimated the top people would come in at around 1:55.
And they started coming in at 1:30.
They started coming in at like 1:20.
Yeah, 1:20
It was crazy. It was so hot.
Yeah, so we get to my dad's, we unpack, and then we drive up and find a spot. Now, if you're doing this and you're actually going to have this experience, always go early. Always bring a ton of water. They do have like porta potties kind of spread throughout the Foresthill people, but people have like camped out in their cars. They've got music going. They are camped out. They've got the teams, the crews have their tent booths up. They are ready. It was amazing. So now we're up there, but the heat is really dialing down. We're starting to get to like 96, 97 degrees. My dad's feet are burning. Our legs are burning. I'm in like sun gear. But we're having a blast. Just the energy of watching the runners come through. It was amazing. We saw all of the elite guys come through. We have no idea what's going on in their heads, their bodies, but we were cheering for them. Dave, you end up meeting an incredible couple of people, a volunteer that you met.
Yeah, I met a couple cool people that are connected to Western States. And have done volunteer work and have just been at one point, runners, and then support people and crew. And then, the one guy's telling me about having to rip down the starting line right after they left because they loaded all up in a truck. They take it down to Auburn to the finish line
and put it back up.
Put it back up with all the timing equipment, right? And so he's like, "Oh yeah, I've done that for the last 20 years."
Oh my gosh!
So it's cool. It's a full-on community.
So let's see, after Western States, or after the Foresthill of watching the elite runners, after the runners come through Foresthill, we are so hot that we have to take a break. And we go back to Dad's place and say, let's take a break, try to grab a nap. We've been up since 2:30 a.m. I'm kind of failing on my operation. So I go up and take a nap. We're thinking about inviting some family up for dinner. And we're thinking about a dinner plan right now. And are we going to go physically down to the track and watch the finishers on Sunday night? Now, who would be coming through?
Saturday night.
Saturday night. The finishers that would be coming through Saturday night will be all of the elites, the pros. You're talking about half of the 369 people in there. Now, as we start tracking the race, we're learning that, there's people that are dropping and we don't know why. We don't have answers to that. We didn't, speculations, but nobody is saying why certain people dropped. And this is what kind of started bumming me out because nobody shares, and we all want to know. We're all on pins and needles about a lot of the elites that we've been following, like Heather Jackson and Esther and David Roche, what happened to them. But we were so wiped out that we could not make it to Saturday night's finish line. So we YouTubed it that night. We had to turn on YouTube and we were on pins and needles for the finish.
And I made some incredible barbecued ribs, potato salad, corn, a couple of beers, and I think there might have even been a bourbon in there.
Yeah.
So it was a decent trade-off.
Decent party.
And it was nice to be with your dad.
Yes.
And family.
Yeah,
so they appreciated it.
That was great. So we decided for the next day, Sunday, that we would do one more training run in the morning ourselves and go down to the finish line and actually see what it was like at the finish line. And I just didn't really know what it was like because, when you watch it on YouTube, it's just so different because they're forcing you on the commentary in a sense and like on the runners, but to be there in person when you have the freedom to wander and capture it all yourself is just different than what they show you on the YouTube. So this was great. This is a great story. We woke up in the morning, and before we headed out on a run, I find out that 160 racers are still on the trail. So that's half, and around 63 or 69 racers have dropped. So now you're looking at, 150, some have, crossed the finish line. You've got 160 left out there. And we hit the road. We go down to, I had a recovery run that day, and I'm like, I'm just going to hit Quarry Road, make it easy.
And where you're going to run on Quarry Road, just on the other side of the hill is a place called No Hands Bridge. And we'd seen it on the feed the night before because it had, flags from every country all the way across. And so I wasn't particularly in the mood to run, which isn't uncommon. But I decided to hike over to No Hands Bridge to see, am I going to see any other runners coming through, or is it way too late?
Yeah, so Dave takes off on No Hands Bridge, and if you're watching this on YouTube, you'll see the footage of the incredible flags that we got on the shot. And I take off on Quarry Trail, and my run is like an hour I think long. And so I head out. I pass the Western States Trail that I see going up the mountain. I don't see any runners. I just see local runners. I'm going to keep going. And about when I got to about 35 minutes in, I started seeing runners, and I was cheering for them, clapping, pulling over, giving my kudos, like, way to go. I know that they still have a few hours left to get down into Auburn. They now, from that point at Quarry Road, they would have to climb up and over a big hill, a big mountain to come back down, and then another big mountain to get out back into town. So it was just so cool. I was about ready to turn around, and as I pass someone, I turned around, I came back, and I just decided to connect and say, hey, how's it going? Like you do with a stranger, like, you're incredible. You're making this incredible run. I realize this guy I'm running with is from Japan. His name is Tatsuro, and he is struggling. He's on the struggle bus. He has been up all night like everybody else, and really just needed a friend, a pacer, to kind of bring him to the next trailhead. And so we talked, we hung out, and I brought him to the next trailhead. I asked him like where he's from. He's from Japan. We got talk story a little bit. And I think that moment of just putting myself in that position of opening myself to somebody else and slowing down my life, my life for somebody else, and listening to him and his story of how he's feeling during this run, what he's going through, trying to be in that space with him, and also encourage him and be positive to get him to the next space. And his goal, flying all the way from Japan, was just to finish. I mean, obviously it takes so much work to get into Western States, and years and years of work to get there. He just wants to finish. So that was really incredible experience. So ran back, and then met you at No Hands Bridge.
Yeah, and so No Hands Bridge, I make you go for your run, have that experience. I get down and you go over this little hill, and I can see No Hands Bridge with the light on it, sun coming up, all the flags, not a soul in sight. And I'm like, probably missed it. I'll just get a little video footage. And right as I get up over the next little rise where it comes in off this side trail, all of a sudden,
runners are coming in.
A pacer comes running out with a tag on, and he's just like covered in brown dirt, right? That looks like he's been just rolling in the dirt all night. And I can see there's a runner up behind me. He's like, which way? And I'm like, well, toward the bridge. He's like, oh yeah, toward the bridge. Guy comes out, and the runner starts running, and he's like, you got to stop. The pacer's yelling at him, we got to get a picture. And they're trying to do a selfie. And I'm like, hey, I'll take a picture of you guys. And he hands me the phone.
Oh, that's great.
Like, oh, this iconic. We got to get this picture of this iconic bridge. And I'm like, brother, you got the picture, but you better go.
Yeah, you got to go.
Because you still got, I told him 3 miles. Like, 3 miles, that's cool. And I learned it was like 4.5 miles from there. So
and a big giant hill.
So I gave him the wrong information. But hey, it makes you feel better when you only think it's 3 miles. So
yeah.
The other thing is, I did see about, 40 or 50 additional runners in that time that I was there, and got to cheer from him. A photographer showed up. A couple of other family members that were looking for their runners and were sort of lost showed up and had, interesting conversations. But I think the people that are just doing it to do it, that want to finish, even though they're in what we call that golden hour, right, where they have to make that cutoff time, I think they're the true heroes. Just, there's just a look, and a feel, and just a grit about it, as opposed to the people that are doing it as a living. They've come from wherever it is in the world. They've come to have this one experience. They finally won the lottery, and they're making it happen. And at that point in time with, well, I guess it's 4.5 miles, not 3. Some of them didn't look too happy at that moment. I'm sure they're happy that they finished, but
yeah. So at that point, we had to wrap it up. We had to jump back into our car and drive to the finish line because we wanted to catch the last golden hour. We made it there an hour and a half before everybody finishes. We grabbed my sister and headed over there, and it was incredible. We arrived on what was it, past like the white iconic bridge that everyone's coming down.
Yeah, the white bridge, which is the turn before you go down the street, right to
The track.
the corral that goes into the track.
And this is going to Placer High School in Auburn, California. And we have parked way far away. We have walked all the way down to the track, and just the energy was just so alive. We actually get on the track, go into the middle, and the drumming was incredible. Again, if you're watching this on YouTube, you're going to see this incredible drummers drum here, because wow, just blew my mind away. They were like keeping the energy alive, and then just start seeing the runners come in. The booths were like on the outside of the track, kind of filling up, where the Fleet Feet had their Western States store. There was free food for everybody, so you could get in line. There was like a buffet style like food thing going on. That was amazing that they were even doing that. They had a medical tent in the very back, and then the whole thing was also being streamed onto the lawn out there. The commentators were out there, just bringing people in on this last golden hour. And I just think it was really special.
Yeah.
It was just incredible to be there.
It was. If you ever go do Western States, wake up on that last morning.
And go down there.
And yeah, not only go down there, but go to that No Hands Bridge. It's not that far hike. And there's just, you're out in a place where there aren't any other fans, or not a lot of other fans. I'm sure the night before, when the pros came through, when leaders came through, it was probably packed.
Packed, yeah. No Hands Bridge is in the confluence of Auburn State Park, by the way. So if you're looking for where the heck it's at, it's in Auburn State Park. You do have to kind of go on Old Foresthill Road to get there, but it's in the confluence. They call it the confluence. Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
So wrapping up, I want to share a couple of cool stories, because I think in my mind, after, experiencing that and the lessons I learned, and just, there was one lesson that was just being frustrated about not knowing. And I think sometimes it happens with all of us. We want to know, like, what happened to the people that dropped, and are they okay? And some people would release information and some people wouldn't. But I had a huge lesson this morning when I woke up, and I saw a post from someone that we were following named Rod Fervard.
Who was the pick to win it?
Who was the pick to win it, who was second place last year. And
led it over the summit. We got to see him leading it, in the first 4 miles, like he was first over.
We did see him at Foresthill, and we were cheering for him, and he dropped in just 10 miles from the finish. And that just broke my heart. And his silence at first really was just like, what happened? Nobody knows. Then in a recent post, he really reminded us that this just isn't about the miles. It's about meaning. And I wrote some notes down I wanted to share with you all, because sometimes the hardest part isn't the setback. It's reconciling how much of your heart you poured into something that didn't unfold the way you imagined. But here's what Rod said he's learning, and also what I'm learning, is gratitude isn't just reserved for the wins. It's for the grit, the sacrifices, the belief you held even when things didn't click, because those moments, they shape you more than any finish line ever will. And I absolutely agree. So that's a pretty powerful story. The other story that really lit me up today is learning more about Abby Hall, who took women's first place. And Abby actually did have a win at UTMB, but there was a story that unfolded with Abby, especially in one of her Instagram stories at Courmayeur, when everything felt like things were falling apart. She was reminded too of the hardest moments that often are our turning points in life. And she didn't quit. She actually sat in the mess, feeling embarrassed, not wanting to move forward, but feeling that disappointment and still choosing to move forward, not for the optics, not for the pride, but for something deep down. I think that she knew, and we can also pull from in our hearts when things get tough and challenging, that progress isn't always fast or pretty. Sometimes it just takes not giving up. And I think you just have to remember that. Now, when she finished at UTMB, it wasn't just powerful because of the win. It was powerful because of the resilience she had. And it reminded us and reminded me that hard moments along the way aren't setbacks. They're like arrows. They point us toward the next evolution. And even if it feels like wheels are falling off, you're still in the race no matter what. So keep showing up. These two stories actually, Dave, kind of reminded me of our own why right now and what we're going after and what we're fighting for. And those two posts just made me pause. It made me smile. It made me remember to just breathe, because when you are quietly fighting life, battling. It takes a lot to just be alive today. And the self-doubt that we all carry, the courage that it takes to keep showing up day after day, waking up, and you have the choice to choose to keep going today, to serve others, to stoke a fire in someone else's heart. Because I know that me going to cheer for all of those hundreds of people and strangers around me lit my heart up so much. I didn't know anybody, but looking at their tags and shouting out their name meant something to them inside. They heard their name being called, and it lifted my heart up in such the biggest way. So that was just, it was super special. And just remember, others can refill their own hearts and hope when you cheer for each other, and it just makes them stronger. In fact, Chris Myers share that Caleb Olson was first place in this for men's, and Caleb shared an incredible
Utah boy.
Yes, Caleb shared an incredible story about Chris Myers, and I really want to share that because Chris Myers is a little bit of a rebel and he's really funny. He had some funny stuff going on, but this really just I will remember this for the rest of my life. But Caleb had shared that Chris and Caleb were together in the last like 20 miles, and they were running on a road together, and Chris Myers said to Caleb, "My friend, run your own race. This is your race. Do as you will. You do you. I'll do me. You can drop me. You can go in front of me. Doesn't matter. Just know we're stronger together." So
Awesome.
yeah, I will always remember it. Anything else, Dave?
No,
I want to wrap this episode.
I want to wrap the episode, but just on that note, I want to do a shout out. And
Yes.
We're all used to big brands being in it for the money, right?
Yeah.
And I get it. Like, that's how you grow to be a big brand. But the big brand at this race was Hoka, right? And I think, I hope they've been recognized, but I just like to shout out to them some recognition for all the little things they did. And it's all the stuff behind the scenes, like the morning of the race, someone from Hoka went down and put down their credit card at the tram office and said, "Everybody this morning is on Hoka," right?
That was crazy. That was so awesome.
Yeah, right. It's family.
Yeah.
And the mid-mountain, having the Hoka mugs and the bells and the donuts and the coffee all set up. The co-founder, Nico, had what we thought was going to be an event where he'd speak, and he just hung out and answered questions and talked story to whoever was there and gave away swag. I thought that was cool.
That was amazing.
The finish line, the food for everybody. Thank you for that, right? Like, There was a donation thing there, and they probably made more money off of donations than they would have by charging. But it was just open. Like, everybody gets water, drinks, breakfast, hamburger, whatever you want. And just the spirit of how they showed up. They did the brand thing, but they also did the human thing. And
yeah, that says a lot.
I think that's awesome.
Yeah. 100%. That almost brings me to tears because it was so special, Dave.
Yeah.
It was so special. Whew. Okay. So that's a wrap. Episode 63. We didn't race it, but we lived it, Dave. From Idaho to Olympic Valley to Foresthill, back to the finish line and back again. This was about as close as proximity to the greatness, the grit, and beyond the glory, and realizing that sometimes just being there is a breakthrough for us all. So whatever your dream is, wherever the trail is leading you, keep pushing boundaries, keep chasing your big dreams, my friend, and most importantly, keep rising. Dave and I would love it if you could share this episode with someone that you know might be inspired by Western States 100 or just heading out on an adventure. We would love it if you could leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, rate us on Spotify, or check us out on YouTube. It's how we all share and rise together. So have an amazing day, my friend. We'll catch you on the other side. Aloha.
Aloha.